Breaking news this weekend, another high school athletics program having to shut down practice due to the coronavirus. Skidmore-Tyan is suspending football and volleyball practice for at least 2 weeks after 2 volleyball players have tested positive for COVID-19 and 1 football player has been exposed to the virus by a family member. The suspension of activities means the volleyball team will miss all scheduled games through August 20th. As for football, 2 full weeks of practice. According to UIL guidelines, the football team would not have to shut down. Instead, the athlete exposed would have to quarantine. But Athletic Director Stephen Silva wants to approach the situation with an abundance of caution.
We're a small school. We don't have a whole lot of kids to begin with. And so had we delayed our decision, it could have very possibly been that, another 2 or 3 kids may have tested positive. But we decided, in the interest of safety, let's go ahead and send everybody home, quarantine for the 14 days. If somebody does pop up positive, at least they're already home and not mixing with other students. And so, for football, that was kind of a little bit of a no-brainer as far as I was concerned.
And this, of course, a fluid situation. Skidmore-Tyan hoping it has limited exposure and hope to get back to athletics after 2 weeks of quarantine.